The Indiana Fever fans were chanting, "Sophie, Sophie."
How does a WNBA role player become an overnight superstar set to make millions? It's not from a game-winning shot, it's from one single hard foul. This is the story of how Sophie Cunningham's now infamous flagrant didn't just defend Caitlin Clark, it was a brilliant move that exposed the league's hypocrisy, activated an army of fans, and transformed her entire career in less than 48 hours.
Southern going coast to coast, and here's we got another.
The game between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun was already a pressure cooker. For weeks, fans had watched with growing frustration as Caitlin Clark, the player single-handedly rewriting the league's viewership records, was treated like a human punching bag. But this game felt different. It felt like a line was crossed. It started when JCS Sheldon took a swipe that connected squarely with Clark's face.
Teams are going to have to think twice about messing with Caitlin Clark again.
Moments later, Marina Mabrey delivered a blatant body check that sent Clark flying to the floor. It was the kind of targeted aggression that would trigger an immediate ejection in the NBA. The message from the Sun was clear, but the message from the refs was even more alarming. Nothing to see here. A simple technical foul was the only consequence for a direct assault on the league's most valuable asset.
They didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boom.
Wow.
The game was turning into a public display of disrespect, and it seemed like no one was going to do anything about it. For fans watching at home, the feeling was a mix of anger and helplessness. The league was letting its golden goose get cooked, and the frustration was boiling over.
When they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have their teammates' backs.
But then, with the game well in hand, something shifted. Sophie Cunningham decided she'd seen enough. As JCS Sheldon drove to the basket, Cunningham met her with a foul so hard and so deliberate that there was no mistaking its intent. It was a flagrant. It was payback. And for the thousands of fans in the arena and the millions watching at home, it was pure catharsis.
Watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space. It looked like she just got hit in the eye there.
Ooh, and Marina Mabrey. I missed that one, Edona.
This wasn't just a cheap shot in retaliation, it was a declaration. Sophie was sending a message not just to the Connecticut Sun, but to every team in the WNBA. The free shots on Caitlin Clark are over. It was the moment everyone had been waiting for. A teammate stepping up to be the enforcer, the protector who finally said, enough. That one foul was the answer to the question fans had been screaming for weeks. Who is going to stand up for her? The answer, it turned out, was Sophie Cunningham.
This angle is wild, folks. There's the eye gouge. Watch Mabrey. Boom! I mean, come on.
It made me think if this was LeBron in the NBA, think if this was Steph Curry in the NBA, do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up, blindsided LeBron, chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals, nobody's ejected, just a common technical foul? That would never it would never happen.
The fallout online was immediate and intense, but it split into two bizarrely opposite camps. On one side, outrage erupted. A petition was launched demanding that Sophie Cunningham be kicked out of the WNBA for her disgusting display. Critics called her a thug and a danger to the sport, flooding social media with calls for her suspension. But this outrage quickly exposed a staggering level of hypocrisy.
Even as good as that rating was, Caitlin Clark's good for about 1 million extra viewers.
Just a few months earlier, in a preseason game, Cunningham was the one who got taken to the ground with a hard foul. Back then, many of the same voices now calling for her removal were celebrating the play, defending the aggressor, and even encouraging more of it. It laid bare a disturbing truth. The issue wasn't the hard foul itself, but who it was defending. The battle lines were drawn, and the war for public opinion had officially begun, revealing a deep and bitter divide within the fandom.
And I mean, when I tell you social media is setting the WNBA on fire right now, not in a good way, that's the understatement.
While the internet trolls and angry critics were busy signing their petition, Sophie Cunningham was preparing the ultimate clapback. She didn't release a statement. She didn't apologize. She didn't engage with the hate at all. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She simply logged onto social media and retweeted a post announcing that her Indiana Fever jersey had completely sold out. In one move, she rendered the petition meaningless.
That's a flagrant foul.
The message was deafening. You can complain all you want, but the fans are voting with their wallets, and they were voting for her. It was a checkmate moment, a masterclass in modern media savvy. She had turned their outrage into her marketing campaign, proving that the support for her actions wasn't just loud, it was profitable.
And I truly think that this was a message that she was sending to the leagues, to the officiating, just like to everybody, because it is, if you are watching any of these games, you are seeing that there is a disparity in the way that it's being officiated, and the Indiana Fever are held to a standard that no other team is held to.
This explosion in popularity wasn't just a fluke. Sophie Cunningham had unknowingly tapped into one of the most powerful forces in modern sports, the Clark Army. Caitlin Clark's fan base is unprecedented in its size, loyalty, and engagement. They don't just watch games, they mobilize, and they fiercely reward anyone who stands with their star.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected.
We've seen it before. Kate Martin, a second-round pick from Iowa, sold more jerseys than the league's reigning MVP simply because she was Clark's teammate. Now imagine what happens when a player doesn't just play with Clark, but publicly and physically defends her at a moment when fans felt she was most vulnerable. Sophie stepped into the role of the bodyguard, and in return, the Clark Army made her a star overnight. Her social media following skyrocketed by hundreds of thousands in less than 48 hours, and her name was suddenly everywhere.
Again, the league's been handed this miracle, this beacon of light, while it was down in some dungeon in the basement on life support, and it was never turned a profit, lost $40 million last year. They get handed this beacon of light, and all these players cannot stand her. They're jealous, the players union. It looks like the whole league.
But it would be a huge mistake to label Sophie Cunningham as just a goon or an enforcer who got lucky. The truth is, the star potential was always there. This incident just put a massive spotlight on it. Long before she joined the Fever, she was already building a media career as a charismatic TV analyst for the Phoenix Suns. She's smart, well-spoken, and natural on camera. Everything you want in a modern athlete brand.
So this is a petition to get Sophie Cunningham removed from the WNBA, where she displayed tonight was disgusting.
Now look, you might think this is just internet noise or a silly little petition.
On the court, she's a veteran leader, a dependable three-point shooter, and the exact kind of tough, experienced player the young Fever team desperately needed. Many analysts had already called her the team's most underrated signing. They just didn't realize how quickly the entire world was about to find that out. She isn't just a bodyguard, she's a legitimate baller who now has the narrative to become a household name.
The Auntie Clark fans, I am seeing them not only celebrate Kiki Iriafen in this situation, but say that Sophie Cunningham was at fault for what happened, and she got what she deserved, and saying good job Kiki Iriafen.
So how exactly does one foul translate into millions of dollars? It starts with the social media engine. That massive influx of followers isn't just a vanity metric, it's digital real estate. Brands see those numbers and don't just see fans. They see direct access to the single most engaged and free-spending demographic in the sport. That attention immediately opens doors.
We are seeing literal people, not threats of violence, but people encouraging violence against a player. And that's not on. That's not on for nothing. There are people literally out there encouraging violence against Sophie Cunningham. And these are the people that want to say another fan base is the worst fan base in the WNBA, and they're encouraging literal violence against players.
The kind of stuff that's being said to them, the stuff that's being said to Kelsey Mitchell, the kind of things that are being said to Natasha Howard are actually wild. People have taken a photo of these women and circled a bullseye on them and have said, it's on site when I see you. Those are actual threats.
First come the local endorsements in Indiana, from car dealerships to restaurants wanting to align with the Fever's new hero. Then it scales nationally. Companies selling everything from sports drinks to apparel will be lining up to partner with the player now known as Caitlin Clark's protector. That's a powerful and marketable identity that goes far beyond basketball. Her agent's phone is likely ringing off the hook, turning one viral moment into a multi-year financial windfall.
Guys, it's actually insane how viral this has already gone. There's so many NBA accounts who are tweeting it. I was getting ESPN notifications about it. Like, it is wild how much traction.
Sophie Cunningham's jersey has sold out. I repeat, the Sophie Cunningham Fever jersey has sold out.
But the impact goes beyond money. Sophie Cunningham's actions have fundamentally altered the unspoken rules of the league. She put the WNBA in a fascinating bind. The league can't look like it's giving Caitlin Clark special treatment, but it also can't afford to let its biggest star get manhandled. Sophie solved that problem for them. She established a new form of player policing.
They got beat up by the enforcers, but Sophie Cunningham has responded to the petition by just retweeting a freaking post about her jersey being sold out. That is a response. That is quote tweeting her the petition. Like, that is the best way of going about it.
Now, the deterrent for cheap shots isn't just the fear of a referee's whistle. It's the threat of a hard foul from a teammate who has the full support of millions of fans. She created a blueprint for success in the Clark era. Being the loyal, tough protector is now a proven path to fame and fortune. This incentivizes a level of team toughness and loyalty that no coach's speech ever could.
I wonder how much money Sophie Cunningham is going to make on endorsement deals this summer. Like, I think Sophie Cunningham's endorsement deals are going to go into the millions, are going to be in the millions this year. I think they're going to be in the millions this year. Because if you are not only like good in front, like she's good in front of a camera, she is now known as the Caitlin Clark's enforcer. And like, it's something that matters. It's something that really, really matters.
In the end, that one hard foul was about so much more than a single game. It was a turning point that exposed the league's officiating crisis, crowned a new fan favorite, and redefined what it means to be a valuable teammate in the Caitlin Clark era. Sophie Cunningham didn't just stop an opponent, she started a movement. She stood up when no one else would, and in doing so, she won the unwavering loyalty of millions of fans and likely secured a future filled with endorsement deals that will dwarf her player's salary.
For me to come in here knowing what I've been taught, I kind of want to spread it around, especially with how talented this group is. I'm just excited to kind of maybe be that calm piece when it needs to be calm, that feisty, sassy, stick up for my teammates when it needs to be that. And so just kind of reading the room and, you know, whatever the team needs that day, being able to provide.
Her story has now set a fascinating precedent, leaving everyone to wonder who will be the next player to realize that the fastest path to stardom in today's WNBA isn't just playing well, but publicly having Caitlin Clark's back. If you're still here, drop a basketball emoji in the comments. Thanks for watching.